In the pre-dawn hours of June 21st, 2019, a fire erupted at the Philadelphia Energy Solutions, or PES, oil refinery. Just after 4 a.m., 3 explosions rocked the facility and surrounding residential areas, the last being so powerful it sent fragments of machinery weighing between 15,000 and 30,000 pounds hurtling across the Schuylkill River, half a mile away. The blaze itself took firefighters over 24 hours to extinguish. Miraculously, nobody was killed, and only 5 employees suffered minor injuries. But this incident put a final nail in the coffin for the oil refinery. The plant announced that it would cease operation on June 22nd, and PES declared bankruptcy on July 22nd, 2019, resulting in 1,300 acres of land, the size of a small city, sitting idly for the first time in 150 years. In June 2020, a Chicago-based real estate developer acquired this massive plot of land for $225 million, promising a new vision for South Philadelphia, and the region as a whole for that matter. They renamed the area the Bellwether District, paying homage to Philly's legacy of contributing first to the national and global history. Stay tuned to learn about this multi-billion-dollar plan to transform the refinery and start a new kind of revolution. What comes to mind when you think of Philadelphia? Perhaps you think of the founding fathers of America and important American artifacts such as the Liberty Bell and the Constitution, or maybe you think of the famous Philly cheesesteak. As the Industrial Revolution began to take hold during the 19th century, Philadelphia naturally became one of the leading cities in the new industrialized world. With all of this manufacturing of very important and influential products, Philadelphia quickly earned the nickname the workshop of the world. Oil refining was another major industry in Philadelphia during its heyday of manufacturing. Refining involves turning crude petroleum into usable forms such as oil and gasoline. The PES oil refinery, which is key to our story, began operating over 150 years ago. In 1870, the Atlantic Refining Company began refining oil at a plant in Point Breeze. A second location was opened in 1926 at Girard Point. These 2 buildings would eventually come to be named the Philadelphia Energy Solutions Refinery, and the very beginning of our story. For much of its lifespan, the refinery was highly successful and profitable, but that would change in the early 2010s. PES became over-reliant on supplies of crude oil from the Bakken region of South Dakota. The refinery purchased oil at a very affordable price and transported it by train to South Philadelphia, reselling refined petroleum for a hefty profit. But when the Dakota Pipeline opened in 2017, Philadelphia's supply became accessible to other parts of the country, namely refineries along the U.S. Gulf Coast. PES could no longer buy oil for such low prices and had to turn to more expensive imported oil. Budgeting difficulties from the rising cost of inputs, along with looming private equity debt from the 2012 acquisition by the Carlyle Group, would start to eat away at profits, an estimated drop of $1.8 billion from 2012 to 2017. The combination of these and other financial issues would culminate in the Philadelphia Energy Solutions declaring bankruptcy in 2018, and after emerging from bankruptcy, the firm continued to bleed cash. Only a year later, the final disaster would strike. The June 21st explosion was seen and felt for miles. Later investigations into the cause of the explosion would reveal that much of the piping at the refinery was installed as far back as the 1970s. It's likely that an elbow pipe burst, allowing flammable chemicals to escape. Not only did the leaking fluids cause the fire, but over 5,000 pounds of highly toxic hydrofluoric acid were released. Cleanup crews estimated that around 2,000 pounds were successfully contained, which means the majority of the acid escaped into the atmosphere. Moving forward. However, not all hope is lost for the former oil refinery. The new owner, Schuylkill Redevelopment, turns obsolete industry facilities into new, forward-thinking projects. The first and foremost step of the plan is to simply clean up the area. In addition to the several tons of hydrofluoric acid that spilled into the surrounding area during the fire, refining petroleum itself is a source of some fairly nasty pollution. Environmentalists and Philadelphia residents have long condemned the refinery, as it was the largest polluter in the city, accounting for 16% of Philadelphia's carbon footprint. Environmental cleanup crews are working to depollute the area and make it both environmentally friendly and safe for the people who work there. Beyond environmental cleanup, Schuylkill plans to create jobs and economic benefits while diversifying the workforce. Like many of America's manufacturing cities that prosper after World War II, Philadelphia is one of many Rust Belt cities. The Rust Belt is the nickname of the region of the United States that shares the common history of once being a manufacturing capital of the country. The Rust Belt stretches from approximately New England through the upper Midwest. A combination of manufacturing outdated products, the rising material costs, and foreign competition meant that the factories simply began to lose money. Less money meant fewer workers, and so there was little incentive for people to stick around. And with the exodus of opportunity went the days of economic prosperity as well. To remain competitive nationally and globally, Philadelphia has doubled down on its world-class healthcare and educational sectors. But could this redevelopment project bring big business back to the city? It's estimated around 13,000 construction jobs will be created just to help build the new facilities, inspired by companies that are modern marvels of distribution, such as Amazon and Instacart. Hillco hopes that Bellwether facilities will serve as a major hub of commerce and logistics. Once it is properly up and running, the plan is for another 20,000 new jobs in commerce, logistics, distribution, and management to be created with economic benefits for Greater Philadelphia and the surrounding municipalities. One demographic that is especially being targeted to benefit is young adults and students. The Bellwether Career Connected Learning System is connecting with public high school graduates and is promising promotions and career advancement after completing apprenticeship programs. Furthermore, the City of Philadelphia has approved a major tax cut associated with the project. This tax cut plans to put more money into public schools in Philadelphia, improving the quality of education for thousands of students. Finally, the Bellwether District projects hopes to diversify the workforce and bring opportunities to traditionally disadvantaged groups. Hillco's goal is for 50% of the workforce to be minorities, 50% of the workforce to live locally, and 5 to 8% of its business to be owned by women. PES unfortunately had a long history of racially discriminatory hiring practice. Executive Order 11246, also known as the Philadelphia Plan, was signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965. Its nickname came from the city's history of racist union policies. The plan is for the Bellwether District to do away with this precedent. Do you think Bellwether can achieve its ambitious goals? Check out some of the other ambitious mega projects here.